Good evening, all. Thank you for joining us this evening. This is the first event of the Groundwater Division Young Professionals Portfolio. There will be more to come. My name is Thapelo Mongala. I am the Young Professional Portfolio Representative. I'm also the chair of the Groundwater Division Young Professionals Committee. With that being said, tonight's event is titled The Day in the Life of a Hydrogeologist. As the Young Professionals Committee, one of our goals is to champion the growth and representativity of young professionals in the groundwater sector. So having a night like this, where we're discussing some of our experiences as young professionals, we hope that will allow light to be shared to other professionals and students alike. A couple of house rules: can we kindly switch off our mics as we join and our videos? If we have questions, can we kindly use the chat function? And then also, if you have other burning questions, you can save them for later on in the Q&A segment. With that being said, we're going to have an informal conversation. I think you can see most of our panelists. I will begin with a round of introductions. Like I said, my name is Thapelo Mongala. I am a junior lecturer working at the Northwest University in the Center for Water Science and Management. Before this, I was Youth Environmental Coordinator at the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment. I've completed my master's degree. I'm about to begin a PhD. Yeah, I think that's all for me for now. Our next panelist, as this is an open conversation, I'll hand it over to Sisipo. Sisipo, the floor is yours.
Greetings, everyone. I hope everyone is good. My name is Sisipo Dlakia. I hold an honors degree in geology from Nelson Mandela University, and currently I am busy with my master's degree at NMU under the supervision of Dr. Khadir Mahed. And my project is focusing on hill slope stability, and I'm also including physics as part of my my project, just to show the combination of geology and physics together. So that is all from my side. Thank you.
Thanks, Sisipo. Very brief but enlightening. Next on the panel, Bongeka, could you share a bit about yourself?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Bongeka Mapumulo, and I am currently completing my master's degree in geology at Nelson Mandela University. I also work as a junior hydrogeologist at NIPSOL, and I've been at that for about like 3 months now, so yeah.
Thanks, Bongeka. Next, we have Annalisa. Annalisa, the panel, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. My name is Annalisa Vicenti. I am a hydrogeologist, but more formally, I'm a groundwater modeler by profession. I work for Mvota, which is based in the city of Cape Town, and I've been working there recently, started about 5 months ago. We mainly work on municipal water supply for the city. Prior to that, I was working at SRK Consulting for 3 years, where our main focus was on the mining industry. I also hold a master's degree in environmental and water science from the University of Western Cape.
Thanks, Annalisa, our groundwater modeler. Next on the panel, Schaba. Can you share a bit about yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Sichaba Mfugeng, working for the Department of Water and Sanitation. And my colleagues in Young Professional, they say I'm the senior young professional because I've been with the department now for quite a long time, just over 10 years, though in different positions. Currently, I'm working as a production scientist, we have a program that we call NIWIS, National Integrated Water Information System. That's what I'm working on, the maintenance and enhancement of the system. And I'm currently busy with my PhD in geohydrology, focusing on tracer tests, the impact of dilution and diffusion in tracer tests. Thank you.
Thanks, Chaba. The most experienced young professional. Next on the panel, we have Larisse. Larisse, could you share a bit about yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Larisse van Wyk. I'm currently a junior earth scientist at GCA's Water Environmental. I have been in this position for the last 3.5 years now. This is actually my first job. Before this, I did my honors in environmental sciences with hydrology and hydrogeology under Prof. Ingrid Dennis at the Northwest University. Thank you, Sibeli.
Thanks, Larisse. We studied together. Good times. Difficult exams. Next on the panel, Hlengiwe. Hlengiwe, could you share a bit about yourself?
Greetings, everyone. My name is Hlengiwe. I hold a master's degree in geology. I am currently a consultant hydrogeologist at ERM. I currently have over 3 years of experience in environmental consultancy. Most of my experience has been gained within oil and gas sector, specifically within the contaminated land assessments.
Thanks, Hlengiwe. Oil and gas will give us a different perspective on things. We look forward to hearing a bit more about that. Next on the panel, Michael. Last but not least, Michael, can you share with us?
Evening, everyone. My name is Mike Holloway. I have a master's degree in hydrogeology, which I focused on artificial recharge or managed aquifer recharge. I live in Stellenbosch, where I work for a groundwater company called GEOS. And I have 6 years of working experience. I work mostly in the mining industry, but a lot of work in the agricultural, but also a little bit every now and then for municipal water supply. And I have just got back from the field, so please excuse me if my hair is a little bit all over the place, but that starts to allude to what a day in the life of a hydrogeologist is, I guess.
Thanks, Mike. We're looking forward to hearing some of those adventures in the field. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. So let's get into it then. I think we should start off by talking about the average day in our lives. Since I have the opportunity to speak, I'll just start with myself and give you guys time to think about what your day-to-day tasks are. For me, it's threefold. I do teaching and learning. I do a couple of courses in ecological water requirements, environmental hydrology, as well as geophysics. There's another component of research and innovation. So there's a lot of research that we do as an academic does. So a lot of publishing of articles, applying for grants, things like that. And then the last but not least component is community engagement, because we need to disseminate information to communities on updates in our field and also educate various sectors on the importance of groundwater. So I do a lot of outreach, schools and community-based awareness campaigns and things of that sort. So we engage the public as we should as academics, not just keep all the information to ourselves. Who else would like to share? I think Sisipo, let's just follow that order again. Sisipo, can you share?
Hello again. As I've said that I'm still a student, I'm a full-time master's student. So on a day-to-day basis, I go to campus, I conduct and design experiments, because my project is a lab-based project. So I conduct experiments and then I monitor them. And then when I have finished, I collect the data, analyze it, and then I read up on it, because part of doing your master's, you have to find a literature review that will support your findings from whatever you're researching about. So I do that. And then besides focusing on my project, I'm also a tutor for first years, and I've also tutored a module in honors for honors students for this year. So my tasks there, I help with practicals. Sometimes I take students to the field, especially the honor students. I go with them to the field, I help them with their practicals, and then I help the lecturers to mark that. And I also avail myself to the students, of course, whenever they need help with anything, because I've majored in my undergrad, I've majored in geography and geology. So the first years are the geography students and geology honors students. So I do that on my day-to-day basis. And I'm also part of the Groundwater Division Young Professionals Committee. So I also have tasks there, like the event that we're holding today. So we have tasks like reaching out to the high schools, to the university students, letting them know about our organization and helping them out with science in general, with questions that they have. Thank you.
Thanks, Sisipho. That's quite a full plate for a master's student, but yeah, with such opportunity, how can you not take everything up? Next to Shay Bongeka, what's the day in the life for you like? Let's hear.
Okay, so with me, basically, I work in consulting. So I can easily say that my days, even my weeks, actually differ, because I split my time between the office and I'm on site. So if I'm not in the office, I'm on site. And site work, sometimes it can be on a whim, like just like this. Other times, it's planned through. So when I'm on site, I'm responsible for multiple things, depending on the project that we're working on. I could be responsible for drilling supervision, conducting pump tests, taking water samples, collecting them, taking them to the lab for analysis. And then I come back to the office. So when I'm in the office, basically I write reports, different reports on my findings. The reports also vary. We could, write reports on, I can write reports on waste classification assessments, groundwater monitoring reports. It really does depend on the project that we're working on at the time. So basically it's just analyzing and interpreting the data that we collected on the field, on sites, and then writing upon our findings. And then, I also have different tasks outside of work, such as I am also a master's student, so I still have to work on that as well. Also a part of the GWD committee. So we like to promote the STEM field, STEM careers. As Sisipho had mentioned, we go out to universities, high schools. We try to reach out to high school students, just to encourage them about the STEM field. So, yeah.
Thanks, Bongeka. It seems like everyone has a full plate here. How do people? Do we all have the same 24 hours? I don't think so.
We try to make it work.
Yeah, we should. And then we're doing good work. So let's keep it going. Next on the panel, let's hear Annalisa. What's a day in the life of a groundwater modeler?
So Bongeka put it very nicely. It all depends on kind of what project you're on. I'm also in the consulting space. So days look very different depending on what you're busy working on. But as a groundwater modeler, you're typically trying to use computational software to predict groundwater flow and contamination. There is a general workflow that we kind of do follow. And I'd say you firstly start off with collecting data. That could be either by going to the field or using secondary sources, however you need to collect your data. From that, we will analyze the data to try and develop a better understanding of what the system is showing us. That then fuels into building a conceptual model. So with a conceptual model, you'll typically understand the inflows and outflows of a site, what is happening, what are the processes that are involved. And that all gets translated into a numerical model. So it might be, a numerical model is basically translating all the hydraulic parameters, such as your geology, your recharge, your evaporation, all the rest, into something that your program can read. It's typically a numerical or a number value. From designing the model and setting it up, once that is designed, we run a calibration process, which means that we try and figure out how much our model relates to reality. And that is a sense check of water levels or geology or borehole logs on site. And once we're pretty much satisfied with where the model is and what it's telling us, that it's depicting reality as is, then we try and run numerous scenarios to fulfill the objective. After that, we compile a report, and basically a lot of my job is behind computer and crunching the numbers and trying to get a better feel of what would happen in the next 100 years, in the next 50 years, whether it's in contamination or where water will flow or where it will dry out, different factors. So that's a typical day in my life.
Thanks, Annalisa. There's a lot of number crunching there. You guys are like the quants of the groundwater field.
The number nerds.
The number nerds, yeah.
The number nerds in the nicest of ways.
Definitely. No, thanks. Let's get perspective on how government does things. We've heard a lot about consulting. Chava, tell us a little about your day-to-day.
Okay, everyone. As I've said, I'm responsible for maintenance and enhancement of the National Integrated Water Information System, NEWIS in short. The NEWIS is the information system that provides information with regards to all the water resources in South Africa, which are under the management of the department. We do have information regarding both your surface water, groundwater, the wastewater treatment works, your blue drop and green drop. So all the information that you will need with regard to water is basically on NEWIS. It was developed because you find people need data or information, but it's all everywhere scattered. Now the department wanted the information to be in one area where when you need information, you just click and you find all the information in one place. So what I do on a daily is to ensure that the information that's provided on the system is accurate, up to date, and can be used by the users to do whatever they want to do. Say, like my colleagues are studying, we all study. If there's information that I need, we can just go to NEWIS and get your water quality, or you get your water level data, water level information, because as I've said, it's an information system, it's not a data system. Whichever information you need, you'll get there. So what we do is to maintain it, analyze business rules. Say there's, I'll make an example, say City of Tshwane wants to report something on water in Pretoria. Then we will meet them, discuss as to how they want their information, their data to be displayed on the system. Say one of the components of the department, the directorate, wants their information to be displayed on the system. We draft the development of their system as to how they need to information to be displayed on the system. How will it be updated? Will it be monthly, weekly, or yearly? And then we conduct system acceptance tests to ensure that before it goes out to people, the system is performing as it's supposed to do. And then research again, research and support the development of the new systems. But however, within the department, because as I'm talking now, I'm focusing mainly on news, but we do have hydrogeologists and geohydrologists on a daily who look basically into geohydrology, like assessing licensed groundwater applications, who do monitoring and evaluation of those authorizations to make sure that whoever has been issued with a license is following the conditions of a license. We do have hydrologists who go on site to do monitoring of groundwater level and groundwater quality. And we do have geohydrologists who work with the municipalities. But basically on my side, my day-to-day is focusing on the National Integrated Water Information System. Thank you.
Thanks, Chaba. That's quite in depth. Yeah, but it should be, because data is the lifeblood of our field. So, yeah, we can't have informed decision making if we don't have enough data. So yeah, I think government's function is quite vast in that regard. So thanks for sharing. Next on the panel, Larisse, let's hear how consultants in KZN do things.
Thank you, Tupelu. I haven't always been in KZN. I moved here only like 2 years ago, but yes. On my day-to-day basis, I'm part of the monitoring unit at GCS. So most of the water quality reports that I compile goes to Sechava on a monthly basis. Well, they require it yearly from most of my clients. So yes, probably most of my reports end up in the government. But beside the point, on a daily basis, I sometimes go to the field to do water quality sampling. As part of the monitoring unit, we mostly do groundwater, surface water sampling, and we do groundwater level measurements on a monthly basis. As monitoring, we do it repetitively. So every month, the same water levels need to be taken. The same groundwater samples need to be taken in order to establish a baseline water quality for a specific client, or we use it as compliance to a water use license, depending on the sites. They have to comply to certain standards, and that includes monthly water quality sampling and water level measurements. After sampling, I usually drop off my samples at the lab to be analyzed. Then I would receive the water quality results back, and then I will be reporting, compiling water monitoring reports or hydrogeological reports, depending on the requirements of the client. And then I'll submit the reports to the client on a monthly or quarterly basis, depending on what the client's requirements are. As a consultancy, we are hired by clients, and that's how we function. And yes, then we'll be reporting back to clients, and we mostly sometimes have meetings on the water quality with the clients to discuss that with them. So yeah, that's a day in the life. Thank you, Tupelu.
Okay, thanks, Larisse. That's a lot, hey? Busy. Yeah, and then since things have been quite weird in KZN with the flooding and all of that, I'm sure you've been doing a lot more in the field. Okay. Next, let's hear Hlengiwe. Hlengiwe is also from KZN. Let's hear how they do things in the oil and gas industry.
Thanks, Tupelu. So basically my day or my job is divided into two, whereas 80% of my work is site work and 20% is office work. So for site work, what I do is I conduct field work, which includes soil vapor, groundwater, surface water sampling, drilling oversight and soil logging, and monitoring of well installation, well development and construction oversight. I also supervise drilling and topographical surveys, surveying activities, and I liaise with laboratories to ensure that the samples which we collected, be it in soil sampling or groundwater sampling, are properly scheduled and analyzed. I also assist with subsurface clearance activities, which is something we do prior to drilling so that there are no buried utilities which we drill into. And also I develop health and safety plans and risk assessments, which are required for fieldwork activities. So when I get back to the office or my day at the office, what I do is I assist with data management, data interpretation, and data validation. So what I mean by data validation, I mean QA/QCing of analytical data. Analytical data involves both be it lab data or field data, and preparing of site work plans, spreadsheets, figures, be it GIS figures, graphs, trend analysis, and reporting. So just to elaborate a bit in terms of data management, what I do, there's a software which is called EQUIS, which is an environmental quality information system, where we use it to manage our data, be it into migrating legacy data into the software. By saying legacy data, I mean, like, let's say we've got data from 1960 to 2020. So we use this database EQUIS to store data. What I also do is I produce reports using the EQUIS software, and I also do sometimes create some dashboards for all my sites. Yeah, that's what I do on a day-to-day basis.
Thanks, Hlengwe. I have questions, but yeah, we'll leave it to the Q&A sections because it seems like you're doing 5 jobs here instead of 1. But yeah, let's hear Michael. Let's hear the day in the life at GEOS.
Right, I'll be quick because everyone's already said a lot of what a hydrogeologist does, but what they didn't tell you is that every day as a hydrogeologist starts with a good cup of coffee, I think. Most of my days start with a good strong coffee because I know I've got either a good day in the field ahead of me or a good day behind the computer where I'm processing data. But yeah, a lot of my day evolves about client interaction and understanding what their needs are. And then I'm in the field where I'm collecting data. I'm also doing some assessments of sites, and that can be monitoring or drilling supervision or pump test supervision. And then I will finish my day, whether it's often out in the field overnight, or I'll get back to the office and I'll process all my data and put it into my reports. But I work with a team, so together we put a few reports together, and then we interact with our client and help give them the best route forward that we can. That's a summarized day in my life as a hydrogeologist. But yeah, open to more questions if anyone has.
Thanks, Mike. I'm getting the feeling that with a consultant, everything is just client-based. What the client wants, whatever, yeah, let's just work on that. You guys agree with me? Okay, so everyone is shaking. Yeah.
Although we're independent, like, I think there's a fine line between what the client wants and what's scientifically accurate, but you're always trying to get to a conclusion in
as consultants, we have a responsibility to be ethical in what we do, because at the end of the day, we're there to look after the environment, not to make a client more wealthy, but we're there to look after the environment.
True.
I should leave this question towards the end, but what's the procedure with sharing information with the public when it comes to certain clients?
Annalisa can go, she's the mother.
Are we leaving this question to the end, or? I guess it depends on the client confidentiality agreement. Oftentimes, if you're dealing in the mining space, a lot of what is happening is confidential, unless you actually publish your work. If something is in the spotlight or in the media and it is published, then you can be very open about it. If it's also in municipal ties and they publish about what's happening, that's also very open space. Farmers are generally also fairly open. So I guess it depends on the client and what's your agreement, but that is all set in place when you get your tender or your proposal. You know, you kind of read, but you kind of have to disclose.
Okay, thanks, Annalisa. Let's talk about some of the traits that, as a hydrogeologist, we need to have. You know, as an academic, you need to be passionate about engaging with the public and having a sense of responsibility and being motivational. What are some of the other traits that guys from consulting and government need to have? Who wants to start? Should I start with Sisipo?
Okay, I can start. I'm representing the students. So for master's students, I think anyone can get into master's. If you pass your honors and you have a project or you have funding, you have a supervisor, and you are admitted to a university, then you can go for a master's. But then what I think you need as a master's student is you must be ready, or you must be a person who's willing to read. You must be passionate about whatever you want to do, because you have to read a lot of papers. And not only that, but you have to have writing skills, public speaking skills, because at some point you have to present your proposal to your department, or maybe you get a chance to go to conferences like I did when I was doing my honors last year. I attended a groundwater division conference last year, and then I had to present my project to a lot of professionals, people from around the world, and students as well. So that requires good speaking skills, and you must be confident about your own work, because you're explaining it to someone else who doesn't know anything about it sometimes. You must have critical thinking, because you can read 30 papers and you don't find anything relevant to your project, or you can find different views from different authors, and then you'll be confused. So you must be able to think outside the box and see what is relevant and what is not, and what can help you to achieve your goal with your project. And also you must be disciplined and organized, because in most cases, I don't know about other universities, but here at NMU, we don't have modules when you get to master's level. It's just fieldwork and research. So in honors level, you do attend classes and then you go to the field and then you do your project. But when you go to master's, it's a different thing. Now you have to know that you have to manage your own time. You have to go to the lab if it's lab-based, you have to go to the field if it's field-based, and then you collect data and all sorts of things. So you must be organized and plan ahead, because you have to write, you have to collect data, you have to analyze it, you have to read papers, you have to submit whatever you're writing to your supervisors for guidance and stuff. So it is that on my side. And also attention to detail, because you're trying to tell people about what you think, and you also have to challenge other writers, because if you're writing about maybe climate change, it was different 20 years ago to what we're experiencing now. So you must try to pay attention to detail and be specific, so that someone who's not doing geology can understand what you're talking about when you're explaining it to them. So that is all from my side. Thank you.
I think my takeaway here is discipline, because as a postgrad, there's a lot of complacency that sets in, leave things till the end, life becomes very comfortable. And then towards submission, that's when you start panicking, all the data is not in the right place, and the supervisor's telling you one thing. So am I right? Discipline.
Yes.
It makes life easier.
Yeah, it does.
Any other perspectives, guys? Bongeka, what do you think?
Okay, for me, I think a personality trait that you need to have a love for the outdoors. We go on site a lot, and yeah, it's just nature, and sometimes it's not really glamorous at all. So you need to be okay with being in that setting. So yeah, I'd say a love for the outdoors. Also, being adaptable to change. We change a lot in terms of working on different projects. Even the site, the environment itself is different. 1 minute it's super, super hot. Next minute it's super, super cold. You're just exposed to multiple things. So you definitely need to be adaptable to change. I would also say good observational and analytical skills, seeing as that we do work with a lot of data. So you need to know how to handle data. Sometimes, could be working with data from like the past 10 years. So yeah, you need to be able to work through that. And last but not least, time management. You need time management skills, because yeah, it can be a lot sometimes. So I think that's, if you have those characteristics and those traits, then you should be good.
Thanks, Bongeka. Let's hear from the other consultants. Did she cover everything, or is there other traits that you need to have? Annalisa?
Maybe we could all jump in as consultants. But I'd say a big trait is just to have good problem solving skills. You want to, as a consultant, you're trying to crack down a problem, and you can get lost in theory, especially coming in from masters or coming in from the student background. You're reading a lot of articles, you're doing a lot of research. When you get into consulting, it's more like take the stuff that you need and try and solve the problem. So that's another skill, I think. Yeah. What do you guys have to say, Louise and Michael?
Yeah, I'll jump in. I think patience, especially when you're a modeler, you have to have patience. It's a lot of fiddling with small numbers, and you have to get that margin of error a lot smaller, because the more accurate problem solving you can do for your client, the less problems they'll have in like 10, 20 years. You don't want them to come back very quickly and say, not so accurate. Yes, and I'll also say affinity for numbers and chemistry. If you're in Annalisa's position doing modeling, you have to be very number orientated, where especially in my monitoring, you have to be a bit more chemistry related. I think in any hydrogeologist position, you have to have a bit of chemistry background. So that's also a skill you need to have. Michael?
I was just going to add quite a key thing is adaptability. Quite often when you're in the field, you can get hit with anything from a burst tire to a client who wants you to do twice as much as what they're paying you to do, to surprises on site from many things that can change. So I think being adaptable and not kind of getting too stressed and being quite patient and calm is definitely a strong characteristic that just helps with situations, especially when you're in the field, and all you've got with you is your bucky or your field team. So I think definitely being adaptable to the situation that you are there. And I think another one is creativity. So with a lot of projects that I've been involved in especially on municipal water supply for small towns, sometimes you're in the middle of nowhere and you've got to find water for these towns that are 1,000 people, and all you've got is, a couple of kilometers around the town, but you've got often very good budgets and a good team and good engineers, and you can actually together, you can come up with some really, really great ideas that are a little bit out of the normal textbook. Yeah, I think that's what I'll add.
Yeah, just to add to what Michael has said, it's very important to also be able to work with having minimal supervision. Also being a person who's eager to learn and grow, because you really, really have to really want to grow in the industry and see yourself somewhere. The other thing, it's a soft skill that I can add, which I think one of my other colleagues didn't mention, it's emotional intelligence. It's very important to have emotional intelligence, especially in consulting. So beyond and above having your technical skills, it's also important to have that skill of being able to see and collaborate with people and be a team player. So yeah.
Thanks, guys. Just to touch on a little of that soft skill, I also agree with you, Hlengiwe. As an academic, I think, yeah, we need a lot of emotional intelligence because we deal with a lot of different personalities, much like you dealing with clients. So I know that, yeah, some students are quite difficult, some are easier than others, some want higher marks, some want less marks. Even talking to industry professionals on certain projects, people want one thing, you want another thing, and trying to find a middle ground, negotiating is always a challenge. So I can agree to what you say. Schawa, let's hear what traits are we needing in government?
Yeah, with what I'm doing, basically, one will need to have analytical skills to be able to analyze data and make out information out of that and present it in a way that people will be able to understand what your data means to you, and good problem solving skills, because sometimes you will find there's a section that needs to develop we call them dashboards, where we provide the information on the new system. The information is based on presented in the dashboard. So maybe a certain section of the department wants to create their dashboard so that the public can get the information from there. So we've got to the problem solving. Perhaps you find they do not know how they want their system to look like. So you come up with ways and ideas of how can the system look like and provide the data that they need, the information that they need to put out to the public. As my colleagues have already said, even in this field, you also need time management, because say in the morning when you get to the office, I realize that the groundwater quality dashboard is not functioning as it's supposed to, and Michael there wants to get the information on groundwater level. So you see, we need to fix that as soon as we can, so that the public can be able to access the information that they want at any given time. So time management is really important. We shouldn't put things at the back and say we'll fix it tomorrow, we'll fix it in 3 weeks' time. We need to fix it as soon as we find the problem with the system. Communication and presenting skills, because once the systems are fine, we have to go teach people the system, how the system works. So we go around the department showing people, the users, how the system works. So one needs good presentation skills and knowledge of computerized systems, because as I've said, NEWIS is a combination of all the systems within the department to provide you with an integrated information. So one has to understand WOMS. WOMS is the registration of water users. One has to understand SAPWAT. SAPWAT is the system that we use to calculate or estimate the volume of water that a plant will need when, say, the farmer is applying for a license. So to calculate the volume that they will need for the crops that they will be irrigating. One needs to understand WMS, which is the system that deals with water quality. One needs to understand a whole lot of systems within the department. So one needs to understand how they function, because they are the one that feeds into NEWIS. And again, one needs to really understand the acts that regulates our not only water resources, but all the natural resources in the country, because the systems are interlinked to other natural resources. One needs to understand the Water Act, Environmental Act, Agricultural Act, all these land acts, because everything is all combined there to provide the information that one will need. But then again, I think as my colleagues have said, you have to have love for what you're doing, because we do have, as I've said, the geohydrologists who go out to collect data, who deal with projects and stuff. So when you're out, you need to be open-minded, to be creative as well. Yeah, that's about it. Thank you.
Mike, you want to add something?
I just wanted to add to Sachaba. I think he made a very good point. Is very often we have to have a skill of presenting our data, which is very easy as scientists, but often the people that we're presenting to don't understand groundwater. So one of the things that, you know, especially because groundwater is underground, no one can see it. It's not like a dam or a river. So sometimes, you know, one of the qualities that I would say is, you know, understanding how to engage with your audience and present on something that not even they can see, not even we can see, and yet we're presenting data on it. So Sachaba, I think you made a brilliant point there about communication and presentation skills. Yeah.
Can I add to that? No, I fully agree. Presentation skills are important because as hydrogeologists, you come up with solutions to problems, or, you know, but if you can't communicate it, you're actually getting nowhere. And I think there's also a lot of communication links between understanding who you're communicating to within the groundwater space. So for instance, communicating to engineers, they want to know what is the number value. You know, they want to know how will this imply on their design? What are the implications? If you're talking to government, you need to frame it in a way that actually meets their objective. And that, I think, applies to a lot of us. You know, who are we talking to? Where are they coming from? And what sort of lingo should you use? Because there's no use speaking to someone and you're talking about, let's say, like Sisipo, slope stability, you know, and that's a very topical term in terms of like tailings dams and construction and, you know, sort of designing or stability of slopes. But if you just pass this word around, no one will understand, you know, and it's very indicative between a lot of us. And there's also that fine tuning who you're chatting to within groundwater.
Yeah, and the other thing that I nearly forgot to mention is, since the department is the regulator, hydrogeologists within the department needs to really love reading, because the consultants will be submitting their reports to the department for the people who are applying for their licenses, for development and stuff. And one needs to enjoy reading and analyzing what's written in there to better understand the project that the consultants are submitting with regard to. The other thing, okay, related to reading, a few years back, we received a report, and I think sometimes the consultants have that thing that people in the departments do not read. So they will be quick, in a hurry to write their reports and submit to the department. And when you read, it really doesn't make sense. But not to say they don't take us serious, but even ourselves, sometimes we don't take ourselves serious, because when the report comes, we wouldn't read it, we'll just share it there, and then the department will then pay, more especially if it's the project that is done by the department, projects for the department, not the private clients that the consultants are dealing with. Because with private clients, I think they want everything done correctly. But then when it comes to the department, you find it's not all the consultants. Certain consultants are not doing the good job because they know that within the department, people are not going to read their reports. So it just goes through and the department pays. After a long time, that's when you realize, no, the report was not up to the standard that it should have been. As Michael has said, I agree with him. There should be ethnical. We should all be ethnical, whether you in the department or in private sector, so that we protect the environment itself. Thank you.
Just to add to that, Chaba, I also believe that in our career, it's very important to be somebody who's able to take an initiative, because things do change, and it doesn't mean everything is SOP. So sometimes you get a project which nobody in the team is aware of or knows how it's going to be done, but you need to be able to take an initiative and be accountable of everything. So it's important to also take initiatives.
It sounds like there's a lot of room for improvement in all spaces. And ethics plays quite a big role in that as well, if we are to improve ourselves. I think, yeah, we've covered a lot of these traits. We've learned quite a bit from all spheres. Just moving to our last question before we take questions from our audience. Can we discuss some of the pros and cons? I think Chaba's mentioned quite a few, and Michael as well, with the ethical considerations. But let's hear other things. I think I'll just leave that open to the panel in no particular order. Okay, let's start.
I would say first con, because we're in KZN and everybody loves KZN because of the ocean and stuff. So I'd say the first pro would be when we're done in the field, or mostly in the field, we get to see the ocean most times. So that would be a big pro for me. But then on the other side, the con is we have a lot of ticks throughout the year, and they get in very awkward spaces, as well as a lot of snakes, which is very dangerous, which is not always fun to look at or run away from. And then spiders, we do have a lot of spiders, especially in the boreholes, in the borehole caps. When we're doing sampling or water level measurements, we do get snakes and spiders inside the boreholes, which is not always fun. Yeah, that's just from my side.
From my side, the pros, I'm going to relate the pros to for somebody who's working for an international company. So for me, I'd say it's being able to work with the best leading experts in the industry. It's working for large clients that by helping them with them handling environmental responsibilities. It's working for a global organizations allow for a lot of cross collaboration. So being able to work with different people in different countries. And then the con for me, particularly for site work, I think it would be the weather conditions. They can definitely present challenges. For example, if you want to go and do your sampling and you get there, be it at the refinery or it's raining, so you can't work in the rain. So the weather conditions can definitely present a challenge. And also in terms of consulting, it's dealing with large data sets, which requires detail and attention. So it can take up a lot of time, whereas you don't have time sometimes. So that can be a con.
Yeah, and I think for me, just to add on what you said, sometimes we work with international people, so that allows for travel. So for us, we get to travel a lot, which is really fun, which is really nice. I mean, you get to see all these different places, and it's a part of your job, so I think for me, that's a huge con. I mean, a huge pro. And then a con, I'd have to agree with Louise, the snakes, the animals, the creepy crawlies. I'm not a fan. Like, in as much as I love the outdoors and we get to see nature, which is beautiful, which is a pro, it can also become a con. So, yeah.
I'm happy to go next. I think just a pro about being a hydrogeologist is, especially where you're working with water supply for municipal towns, you feel like you're actually making a difference to society and people. One of the projects I had the privilege of working on was in the Northern Cape, where they had no water. They had water for 1 hour a day. And through the project, we were able to develop their water supply that they had drinking water quality 24/7. So that's very rewarding. And that's a big pro, I'd say. Another one is, you're working in a field where water is going to be needed for many, many years. So I definitely would say job safety. I feel quite safe that I've got a good, reliable job coming up for a while, unless I drop the ball or something. There are some cons. I'd say one of them is, you have your long field days, and sometimes you're tired at the end of the day, and you know that you're not going back home to family. So you sleep out in the field and you're camping out in the field. But that has its pros. You're under the stars all night, and you get to go camping and you get paid to do it. And yeah.
I would just like to add on that, Michael. You say that you had a lovely project in the Cape getting water. I know that when we're doing like scouting for boreholes in areas, people are much more friendly towards when you're saying you are a hydrogeologist, you're looking for boreholes. They're a lot more like friendly towards you to allow you on their property to come look at their boreholes, to look at water quality. So people are a lot more understanding of hydrogeologists, especially when you're in the field. So that is as a pro, I think, for this job.
I agree with you.
Yeah, actually, I have a similar story to Michael there, and it's crazy that it's also in Northern Cape. So it was a small town where we were also tasked to drill a borehole, and very similar story. They only had water once a week, and they had to fill the reservoir with this water, and every week they could collect with their buckets, and that was what they would have to use for a whole week. And when we got there with the drill rig, and this community, I think there was about 200 to 300 people living there. They were almost like seeing a god, like, this is amazing, there's this rig. And the rig couldn't actually fit through the narrow streets, that they were willing to take down their fences. They literally took it off. There was one of those, those barbed wire fences, took it off, allowed the rig, and it was amazing just to see the impact that water had, because as soon as that water flushed out of the borehole, I mean, the donkeys came in from far and wide. They sensed there was water there. Children were playing in it, and really there's no better time to feel like, you're actually making a difference, and that is super satisfying.
Yeah, to add on that, from my side, the pros is getting to learn a lot of stuff more, especially with regard to the management and protection of our water resources, because as I've said, one has to kind of know almost all the regulations that the acts that regulate our natural resources, not only the water resource. So within the department, one gets to learn and understand these regulations and laws and acts in depth. And yeah, with the current economic climate, I will say job security. I've had most of people are losing their jobs, but with the government, we kind of like still holding to our jobs. So I'll take that as a pro. But with regard to because I'm a person who's used to traveling, working in the field. So I hear my colleagues are taking it as a pro and a con. But for me, I think it will be a huge, currently it's a huge con, because I'm office based. Even when I travel, you find it's once in 2 months, and I'm not used to that. It's been about 2 years since I moved to head office in this position. Sitting in the office, it's tiring for a person who's used to traveling, doing monitoring, supervising, drilling, and all those things. So you get to a point where you sit in the office the entire 3 months. It's honestly, I'm not a person for the office. I think maybe when I come to head office, I should have done accounting and stuff, so I can sit behind a computer and crunch the numbers and tell you that there will be inflation. Is it what is it that they just raised now today? That thing, you see, because I had the governor of the Reserve Bank increased. It's not interest rate, or they have a name for that. Maybe if I was working with that, I would be very happy that now I'm sitting behind a computer every day in the office, but the office thing is really not for me. That would be a huge conflict. Thank you.
And Lisa, you have something to say?
Yeah, I just thought I'd chip into what Sichava was saying. With my job as a groundwater modeler, it is also primarily behind a desk. So I get that feeling as well, where you just want to get out in the field, and sometimes a good field work is super refreshing. I'd say that is a bit of a con of what I do. You know, you're mainly at the computer. Also, groundwater models are very unpredictable. So at times it's almost like coding, you know, it's not right until it's right. And until that moment, you have to have a lot of patience and you have to have a lot of grafting. And sometimes that does often require overtime, because you can't realistically predict what your timelines are going to be. You might have something set in place, but software complications, certain things happen and the timeline goes off the charts. And when that happens, you know that you have to work overtime. So those are the cons of what I do. And with that, there also comes a bit of pros. Like if you are a person that likes to be behind your computer, it does offer a lot of flexibility as to where you work. Because you are computer based, you know, a lot of time you can work from home, you can work at different parts of the world if you wanted to, and if your company was very flexible. So yeah, those are the two things. Another pro with what I do is that it is a scarce skill. And with that being said, oftentimes, I mean, there's just a handful of us. And oftentimes that means that you have quite a bit of opportunity, not just locally, but internationally. And because there are a few of us, I mean, that's a pro in terms of getting headhunted, but it's a con in terms of finding mentorship, because oftentimes the guys that do model, they are busy and they don't have time to teach. And, you know, there are a few of them. So you don't get that interaction or that learning that you would want. It's very easy to say, I'm going to start. But once you start approaching something real and you start tackling it, it's quite difficult if you don't have a mentor to guide you through or just tell you, you know, this is the problem, fix it. Yeah, so those are the pros and cons of what I do.
On my side, the cons would be acquiring data. Sometimes it's not easy to get data. Sometimes you have to buy papers, or sometimes for instance, if you have a project that requires you to get data from maybe the municipality, sometimes it would take time for the people to respond to your emails and things like that. And the fact that if you're a full-time student, just like me, you cannot work and study at the same time, because if my project is lab-based, for instance, so I did get a job opportunity, but it wanted me to move to Bloemfontein and stay there. So that was impossible for me because my project is lab-based. I cannot just leave PE and go to Bloemfontein for work. So I'm forced to stay in PE this year and focus on my experiments. Maybe next year, if I'm done with experiments, then I can get an internship or something. Coming to the pros, the first one is doing what I love doing, like studying, reading, and telling people about my ideas and what I'm interested in. It's also the exposure that I get, all thanks to my supervisor, who tries by all means to expose me to professionals and to the working field, because I attend conferences just like last year. I attend conferences, I present, I network, and that opens doors for me. For instance, I received a call last year when we came back from the Groundwater Division Conference from the Nelson Mandela Bay. We're having problems with water. So sometimes they would say, even the university would ask if, do you want to write an article about the water crisis, things like that. So it's opportunities that you get and knowledge that you acquire from all these places. And if you're going out there, if you prove to people, you show them that you're interested, there's always someone willing to help. And also joining the Groundwater Professional Young Professionals Committee, it helped me a lot because I know that I have people who are already in the field. I ask questions and they're basically like my mentors. If I'm stuck with something, I can just ask them for help. So that's another thing I'm happy about. It's a pro on my side. So it's a lot of things, man. It's a lot of things. If you're willing to talk to people and ask questions and ask for help. Also, the universities also have seminars to help postgraduate students. So if maybe you're lacking some skills like writing skills or public speaking, you attend such conferences and they're very helpful. Even the faculty at my university, they offer help. We have meetings with the dean. If you have problems, you talk to people and then you get all the help you need to help you achieve your goal. So yes, that's all from my side. Thank you.
Thanks, Sisipo. I think we're on both sides of the same coin because everything you're describing is the life of an academic. So I can't add anything more. The flexibility is amazing. I think my only con, and I don't want to sound political here, is representation. It brings about a lot of issues, especially when you're working in an environment where you're the only person of a particular ethnicity. So I'll just leave it there, but yeah. Before we go to questions, I don't know, can I just ask the panel, what do you guys think about mentorship? Because I heard Annalisa mentioned the value, mentorship as a key thing. What do we all consider as the value of mentorship, especially as we're starting as young professionals? Does it help? Does it not? And both ways, do you guys mentor other people? Are you being mentored? What's going on?
That is a lot.
I'll start.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Go, CC, go.
On my side, it helps on my side. I'm being mentored and I mentor students. I have students from first years and honors level as well. So they do ask for help and I reach out and help them. But I also have people who mentor me. Like my supervisor has students, Bongega is one of the students for my supervisor. So I have people who are ahead of me who I can talk to. Like Bongega, James and Arifa, they've joined the meeting. They're also listening. So it's people that I go to when I need something. If maybe I'm struggling with a certain thing, like last year I had something about data modeling. So I went to Arifa because she's good with that. And then I go to Bongeka for sampling if I need help with sampling because I know she's good at that. If maybe I don't understand something or I feel like it's overwhelming or I'm confused, I know that there's people to talk to and my supervisor as well. I don't have to go to my supervisor all the time. I have my colleagues who are a great support system for me because we usually meet almost every week and then we talk about our progress and then you feel like you are lacking, you are behind, there's people to help you. So on my side, I have a good supportive system from not just my family, but on campus, like my colleagues. So mentoring is very good, especially if you're a postgrad student. Actually, if you're a student, I think you should consider mentoring because it's not easy when you're there alone and then you're doing something. Sometimes you feel like you're not doing it the right way. So you have to be patient with yourself and ask for help. So, or I have a good experience with me when it comes to mentoring. Thank you.
No, I definitely agree with Sisipo. I think almost crucial. And, she said as a student, it's important to have a mentor, but even as like a young professional, I believe, starting off in the workplace, sometimes you can feel a little out of place. So it's always nice to have, someone with experience, someone who can, kind of show you the ropes and, help you along the way. So yeah, mentoring is very important. And also just mentoring other people, also helping other people is, in as much as you need the help, you need to also be cognizant of the fact that other people also need the help. So it goes both ways.
Just to add to what Bongega was saying, particularly in the industry that I'm in, I think without mentorship, you actually won't survive. It's very hectic. There's a lot which is not taught at school, which when you get to the industry, you get exposed to. So I personally have mentors, different mentors, be it work-related, personal mentor. So I'd really encourage everybody within the core to look into it, because it helps you. In our industry, there's something called targets, there's billability that you are not taught about at school. So if you have a mentor, that person would actually help you be able to meet your target, set your goals, because it's important to set your goals. So there's something like called 360 feedback. If you, for example, don't have a mentor and your line manager comes to you and gives you the worst feedback, you can easily get demotivated. But if you have a mentor who has been through the same level as you, would actually encourage you and say, no, it's normal. Those things happen. There are good days, there are bad days. But at the end of the day, that feedback that you receive, it actually builds the person that you will become in future. So I'd really say mentorship is very important. And in terms of selecting a mentor, you don't really necessarily have to select a mentor who is aligned to what you see other people doing, but it's specifically somebody who you are able to open freely, speak to freely, and somebody who can understand you and try and help you grow within the industry that you want to be in. For example, you don't have to have, let's say you are working for a company X. You don't really have to have a mentor at company X. You can have a mentor within the same industry, but in company Y, as long as it's somebody who can help you grow and build in what you currently have. So I'd really motivate young people within the core that try and get yourself a mentor, somebody who motivates you to aspire to be what you want to be in future.
Sorry, I'll be very quick. I think we as the young professional, we're trying our best to be that link between students and young people entering the industry and those who have all the experience. So, I'm speaking for myself, but maybe for the panelists as well, mentorship isn't always a meet and greet. Sometimes it's just a question, and if there's questions that you have, send them through, and I'm sure any of us will help out where we can.
Yes, and if the meeting is cut short, please feel free to reach to any of us through our LinkedIn profiles. Pop us a question. We will help as far as we can.
Okay, guys, I think I'll just move to the questions then. Let's start in our chat. Guys are free to raise their hands if they have questions for the panel, if we're not getting to quick enough. But let me just look in the chat. I'll start with Himanshu Singh, all the way from India. Wow, okay. So we go far and wide. Okay, guys, he has a question or query. Is it easy to directly get a job in South Africa as a fresher geologist? I think this is a burning question. Someone in the direct messages also sent me this question. Who'd like to go for it?
I'll start. When I was fresh out of my honors year, it took me about 4 months to get a job, and apparently that's about a quick one. It's so especially in the consulting industry, it's not as easy to get a job. You have to actually sell yourself really hard. Yeah.
I think, unfortunately, I'm going to be the one who's playing the other foot, but a lot of companies in South Africa want to hire South Africans. It's something that I've been exposed to But that being said, one of the people that I've been exposed to that is potentially joining a company that I work with is not South African. So if you've got the skills and you're good enough to prove it, I think a lot of companies will look beyond your nationality. But I know there is a big drive for hiring South Africans first. Yeah, not always the nice answer, but it's a truthful one.
I think that applies to almost a lot of countries, is they try to promote their own people first.
Yeah, I think that is the same similar concept that I get. I think the easiest way to probably enter South Africa through this profession is to become specialized in what you do, and then that skill gets sought after. As a fresher, I don't think it would be easy. There are quite a few hydrogeologist freshers that are looking for jobs, and that applies to many universities actually pumping out the next generation. So yeah, get specialized, have a skill that's sought after, and more likely than not, you will find a job. Yeah.
I'd like to add to that as well. Specialized skills, especially like modeling, like you do. It is a rare skill, and you can actually teach yourself. If you've done it in varsity, you can actually teach yourself how to get specialized. So yeah.
Yeah, even with the department, it's not simple. I think I was also one of the luckiest to get employed by the department without being sponsored by the department, because usually the department for the entrance level, usually they employ the students. I mean, yeah, the people that they have sponsored their studies while they were still studying. For now, maybe a person coming from outside is, as my other colleagues have said, when you have a special skill that we do not have within the department, and usually it goes to the higher positions, I think, not for the entry levels, because for entry levels, they will have to look for those that they have sponsored firstly, and then look for people within who are the South Africans, even those who are not sponsored. But I think the department most of the time gives preference to those that they have sponsored before they can go look outside.
Okay, guys, in the interest of time, can I move on to the next question? Because I see there's a couple more up here. I think the next one is directed to Hlengiwe from Mixo. Is it me? I don't know. You'll excuse me if I pronounce it incorrectly. At Hlengiwe, what's the name of the software you use?
Oh yes, the software I use is Environmental Quality Information System. In short, it's EQUIS. So the software, it's sort of like a database software where we use it to manage databases, and also for data visualization. So for creating client dashboards, like just an easy example would be like your FNB app. So this software, we use it to create client dashboards where we show everything that happens in the sites, from contamination, from groundwater levels, analytical results, trend analysis. So yeah, that's the software. It's EQUIS. It's originated from Earthsoft. So the owners of the software is Earthsoft.
Thanks, Hlengiwe. Next question is from Nazneen Ibrahim. The question is with regards to skills required of hydrogeologists. How will that extend to the future of the industry, like robotics, artificial intelligence, and so on? Would like to take a stab at that one?
I would take a half a stab. I know one of my former colleagues as honors hydrogeologist, he had an interest in drones doing the LiDAR scans, so attaching a LiDAR system to a drone to do geophysics from the top instead of doing a whole helicopter, but getting a LiDAR to be as small to fit a drone would be a nice futuristic invention. I mean, LiDARs are big if you've seen one attached to the undercarriage of a helicopter. It's not as small as to fit it to a gyrocopter or these little small drones that we get these days. So yeah, there is future in I won't say robotics, but like getting smaller, more easily obtainable technologies than getting a helicopter to do your geophysics. So there's futures, but I don't think artificial intelligence is there yet.
Yeah, so from the robotics side, I was also thinking exactly about drones, but also they're creating these cool little, they almost look like little dog robots. They're very small and compact, and those things go into crevices in underground mines, which is very interesting to understand the geology. So something on that form of robotics. With artificial intelligence, yeah, I think we're getting there. When it comes to, because your question says you're doing something focused on groundwater modeling and groundwater quality. So I think artificial intelligence is slowly being incorporated with groundwater modeling. That is something that I don't think it will fully take over. So when I think of artificial intelligence, I think of something that is programmed to think a certain way so that it can predict outcomes. So it gets self-taught and it develops that information to try and predict futuristic things. With groundwater modeling, I think that AI will never replace our job because every site is different. And I think that is the beauty of it. Every site is different. Every process is different. So as much as that AI is willing to take in information, it might not be able to predict the outcome. So human cognizance and human conceptualization is very important. This question also ties into the next one, if I can just jump ahead with this next question, because Ndubusi asked, sorry, I might have said your name wrong, asked, have I explored machine learning and like, how does that tie into groundwater modeling? So AI, machine learning, similar field, right? Machine learning is understanding, you have a predicted outcome, so you know already the outcomes of a model, and the machine learning actually tries to simulate everything before that and all the possible scenarios that can lead to that outcome, right? I say that's similar to AI in a way where AI tries to gather as much information and then tries to predict forward. So, okay, they kind of one before the other, but they're in a similar field of what is the future. And the future in this tech space, I think, would be with using computational software tools, with using groundwater modeling, with using the different tools that Sechaba and people in this industry relate to. If you can couple your skill set with that, I think you're really looking forward. I'm talking a lot, but going back to this question, if I have personally ever used machine learning, I have not. That is something that is very fresh to industry. A lot of articles and publications are coming out. And in the field of modeling, you get tools and softwares that are getting updated on a daily basis. So the developers are actually updating the software monthly, daily, as it comes. And so machine learning is an addition to that. And that is in the future. Things take time to develop and machine learning will come with that. So it's in the process of becoming its own thing. But I can tell you what I have used, which is not machine learning. It is called Monte Carlo simulation. So that is in the form of a package called PEST. And what that helps you do is you have a model designed, and instead of manually calibrating it and saying, you know, if I change the recharge, if I change the geology, what will the water levels be? This Monte Carlo simulation actually says, if I change the geology permeability from 1 to 100, if I change recharge from 1 millimeter per annum to 250 millimeters per annum, run 100 scenarios and see what is the probability of this outcome happening. So that is typically the kind of innovation, or the kind of like leap that we take as modelers, to understand the probability of things happening, because nothing is ever certain. We cannot predict the future, but we try and lessen the uncertainty. So I think the space that we're in with modeling is actually using null space Monte Carlo simulations, if you can Google that, and yeah, using PES software coupling with that. And in future, it will get to a point where, you know, machine learning is incorporated to make efficiencies faster. I don't think AI will ever be able to take over our job, but it is there. And last thing, what software do I use? I use FeeFlow and Groundwater Vistas. And I would say I solemnly stand by the software called FeeFlow, just because it allows for a lot of dynamics. It also allows from very complex geology for you to simulate complex geology. And it is very user-friendly. But with that comes like complexity in building the model. So yeah, sorry, that was probably a lot to take in, but
yeah, I think
talk a lot.
in the time, so we'll just have try to keep it as short as possible, guys. We'll have a rapid fire like answer session now. The next question is from Puna Mupurua. She's from University of Namibia. Okay, so you international guys, congratulations. I would like to know if there's any free software I can use to compare 10 years of groundwater quality data. From my side, I could just look it up for her, because there's some software that we use, but it's university licenses that you apply for. But yeah, I can look into that.
Michael,
Send me an email.
I think if you have Excel and you know quite well how to use Excel, you can get a lot of power out of Excel.
yes.
Just through time, because you're looking for time series trends. Clearly, if you've got so much data, which is a lot, Excel is super powerful. And another one is Wish, but I think Wish you need to buy a license. But if you are a student, I think that, yeah, there might be a free version.
Just to add to Michael, Kuna, you can use MainKendall. I think you can get a free MainKendall. It will help you in terms of your trend. It even shows you if it's decreasing, if the values are decreasing, increasing. So you can look into using MainKendall. The other thing would be, as Michael said, if you are good with Excel, you can use Power Query. So there's tons of videos on YouTube that you can check out for how to use Power Query, but the best bet for now would be MainKendall.
Thanks, guys. Can we keep it to one person answering now, because we've actually run out of time. We'll close the meeting at 25 to 8. Yeah, so next question is from Sinetemba Zulu. What is being done to ensure that people in deep rural areas have access to water? Because I still witness rural areas that still rely on rivers for water. Can I take a stab at it very quickly? Rural areas, from my experience when I was working in environmental affairs, we dealt with a municipality if there are not any large-scale projects going on there. What you'd find is if there's no projects in your IDP, which is your integrated development plan for the municipality, you would be, as an official of the government, you would input it there so that there's budget allocations for those type of projects. Then you'd also work with political leaders. Then yeah, have field assessments, borehole siting, drilling boreholes, and things like that. The next question, to those that have completed their master's Have their findings been implemented to bring about change? And how adaptable is SA in adopting the solutions implemented worldwide? Anyone? Is anyone's research?
I could say, so the project that I was working on for masters was understanding whether you could reuse coal ash. That was a big project. That was a big problem with Eskom. When they burnt the coal, they had no place to put the ash. And the project led to the reason why they couldn't dispose of the ash or reuse it was because it was classified as a waste. So my master's thesis, along with many others and other people in industry, actually helped unclassify it as a waste. So that brought about a whole different industry in terms of using coal ash for bricks, using it as cement, using it to extract different minerals. And yeah, I think that solution is a case study that can be used worldwide. Yeah.
Thanks, Annalisa. Next question, is masters an essential requirement to gain an internship or job opportunity in all spheres of the industry, consulting, government, and so on? Academia, yes. I don't know about consultancy and government. Would like to
No, from consultancy. I mean, I only have honors and I've been working in consultancy for 3 years now.
Okay, I was actually going to say advantageous because they always say that it's preferred, rather go with the masters because usually they do want us to have the masters. Yeah, I mean, for me also, one of my requirements was that I actually finish my masters. So yeah, it's good to have it. I mean, like Louise said, I guess you don't really need it, but it's a nice to have. It definitely sparkles, you know. Yeah.
I wouldn't speak for HR, but I can definitely assure you that having a master's, it really does make a difference in terms of getting a junior job. Even though maybe in terms of salary, it doesn't make any difference, but it does really help because you want to stand out. You want people to see you. So if you get to the office and everybody has an honors degree, how are you different? If we're looking at it in terms of certification. So it kind of like does help you, but it doesn't mean not having a master's, you're not going to get a job.
Sorry, I just want to add quickly, if you are worried about masters and honors, I did as a student in my undergraduate, I did lots of job shadowing, and they actually offered me a job straight out of undergraduate. So I started working before my honors. I didn't get paid a lot, but it definitely helped a lot doing a lot of job shadowing and experience.
Yeah, sometimes if you get into a job without doing a master's and you want to study further, the company sees you as an asset, they often fund you. So that's quite a nice way and quite an easier way to actually gather data and understand what you want to pursue your master's in.
Okay, guys. Next question. Are there any recommended courses a hydrogeological student can take outside of university to improve one's skill set and employment prospects?
I think one of them, if it's not part of, was not part of your undergraduate, project management is very important, because once you get employed, you'll have to manage projects and financial management as well, because within the project, there are finances that needs to be managed. I think that will be highly recommended that you kind of do have project management and financial management aside. Yeah.
I think also it's very important for you as a student or graduate to kind of have an idea where do you want to go? Do you want to be a project manager or you want to be technical? So if you want to be a project manager one day, then I'd really recommend project management. But if you want to go the technical route, you'd really kind of like have to look for things like modeling courses, like if you want to learn Leapfrog or Annalisa knows a lot about modeling. So I think it's also being able to differentiate in terms of where do you want to go actually in the industry. For example, my colleagues here, some are working in monitoring, I'm working in contaminated land. So important courses for somebody in contaminated land would be different for somebody in monitoring, would be different for somebody in government, you know, things like that. So it's kind of like sitting down, brainstorming, having that vision board as to where do you want to go exactly, what's the final goal, and then you can narrow it down in terms of courses. We are available to assist in that.
I'll also like to chip in a little bit. With a consulting firm like mine, which is really small, you kind of have to do everything. So you kind of a bit of project manager, you kind of technical, you kind of do a bit of modeling on the side. So it's it depends on where you're going to end up. Do you want to be at a big company where you have loads of areas where you can jump in and you pick a specific one and go? Whereas smaller consultancies, you kind of have to do a bit of everything.
I just wanted to add both Coursera and those other type of modules that you can do. A lot of Python programming also comes in. I did a lot of pit lake modeling using Python. So I used Coursera as one of those tools. Yeah, the next question, I think it's the second last one.
But sorry, can I add to some of those software?
Yeah.
Or,
okay, no, that's the last question. So you can add on. I think yeah, we'll close it from there. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Python is very, very, very good to learn. We use it quite a lot. If you want to learn modeling, I'd suggest learning FeeFlow. I know courses are expensive. Groundwater Vista or ModelMuse, which is a freeware groundwater modeling software. For making maps, I think everyone makes maps or tries to visualize data in some sort of way. I think using Surfer. Surfer is quite good learning that. Also learning QGIS, which is the free version of ArcGIS. So QGIS is quite a nice tool to have in your back pocket because it is free and there are a lot of online kind of tutorials that you can learn from. So yeah, I think those 4 softwares would help.
Okay, guys, I think, yeah, it's 20 to 8 now. I think we can close. We've shared quite a bit. Thank you to everyone for attending this session. I see most of our participants have left. Michael has left a message on the chat there. If you guys are still interested and want to follow up, you can reach us on LinkedIn. We'll have more events. This was just the first one. On the 9th of August, we're planning to have an all-women panel on Women's Day, discuss some of the experiences of women in groundwater. So looking forward to that. We'll communicate it through our social medias as well as our website. It's gwd.org.za for those that are interested. And then, yeah, thank you so much. Thank you to the panelists for your time. We'll talk soon.
Yes, I would also like to add, Tapelu, that we are starting student chapters in our various provinces. So please feel free to reach out to your lecturers as well as us on LinkedIn to find out where you're fitting in. I mean, I myself are based in KZN, so we will be reaching out to the varsities in KZN along with my colleague Lingiwe, to reach out and to kind of bridge the gap between us young professionals and the students. Thank you.
And also, please don't be afraid to ask us. We are here to, as Larissa was saying, we are here to assist you with questions, guidance, mentorship. So please, please, please ask us questions. We are here for you.
Any other parting shots before we close? Sisipo, Mike, Chaba?
Just want to thank everyone for taking their time to come and join this event. I'm very happy that you guys found it insightful and helpful. I'm hoping that we will see an increase in our membership from this event. If you're not part of the GWD, please just take your time and register, whether you're a student or a lecturer. And this will also help you. If you're not following us on social media, please do, because GWD always has sessions and seminars that they put out there for people, and most of them are free. You can do them virtually. You don't have to go and attend, and they're very helpful. They're also helpful for the others have CPD points, and they'll help you for your CV. So please reach out if you need anything. Thank you.
Also, would it be, if anyone's comfortable, would it be possible if we open our cameras and take a cool group shot? I don't know if anyone's keen.
Yes, yes. You did mention that. I'm so sorry. Yeah.
We have Sibong. Hey, that's great. We see faces. Awesome.
Hi, guys.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Let's see some faces.
It feels much more real not talking to just names, like actually
we can
people
see the
behind.
Yeah.
Great.
Some faces. Come on, everyone. Let's join. Have a good big group photo.
Hi, Jessie. Tafelo, are you going to take the picture? Or
Yeah, let me do that. Give me a second.
let's try fill up the screen, guys. We just need another 6 more people. Yes, nice. Great stuff.
Don't be shy.
Wow.
Galaxy A03 core. I think you can come to the
Hi,
party.
everyone. Nice to meet you guys face to face.
Seeing a lot of KZN faces. Wow.
That's awesome.
I'm seeing some of my students here. It's good to see people attending.
Wow. Well done, everyone.
Okay, I got it, guys. Thanks. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wait, you took the photo?
I think you must count us down.
Oh, okay. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. My fingers in the air.
Actually, the screen is full. Thank you so much.
Wow.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
That's amazing.
Don't be afraid to reach out, guys. We're here to help.
Yeah, we'll talk soon again.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Please feel free to reach out on LinkedIn to us.
Yeah.
And join GWD. Thank
you.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye.